Hello, everybody. I'm live. My name is Sunny. I'm from MakeSoil. Welcome to another installment of MakeSoil Stories. This is a show where we are showcasing inspirational stories of real-world individuals out there in the MakeSoil movement and sharing their story more widely with the world. Let me remind you what MakeSoil is. MakeSoil is a non-profit online platform that is mobilizing humanity to reharmonize with nature. And we're using the viral power of the internet to basically get everyone in the world to have the experience of making soil at a local level, whether that's as a soil maker or a soil supporter who just gives their scraps to a soil maker. So this is an essential experience that anyone can do right now, every day, that will reprogram you and others around you for earth empathy, which is much needed right now. It also happens to capture carbon, reduce emissions, build community, connect neighbors together, and enable millions of new local food-producing gardens every year. So today on the show, we've got Jen Andreani joining us from St. Petersburg, Florida. We first met Jen back in 2018 when MakeSoil was doing a local activation campaign in Florida, and Jen was already doing it. Jen was already composting with her neighbors, and it was one of those kind of early pioneers. She runs the Blue House Regenerative Living Project, where she is going to be joining us from today. And she is very much on the scene locally in terms of urban agriculture, promoting composting, and is not just making soil, but growing stuff in accordance with permaculture principles. So without further ado, I'm going to have Jen join us. Hello, Jen. Welcome.
Hi. Hi. It's
Hello.
so nice to be here with you.
Yeah,
Thank
you so much. Thanks for joining us, Jen. And yeah, we'd just love to know what you do for those that don't know, and why you're doing it as well.
Yeah. So I've always been an earth and climate justice advocate. My focus is around food, community health, food security, that kind of thing. And so back in San Francisco, I lived in a home with some really awesome people. We were doing great things in the garden. We were composting from a vegan restaurant down the street. We were teaching people how to do things like gardening, composting, making biofuels. And when I moved to Florida, back to Florida where I'm from, I bought a house in St. Pete, and I thought, where's the composting program here? I wanted to grow food here, and we have sandy soil. You can't really grow much of what you're accustomed to grow in other places. So I said, hey, I need to start composting, but I don't make nearly as much as I'm going to need to do the scale that I'm going to want to do. So forward, I started here for their food scraps, and started collecting scraps here, and started teaching classes as I needed to turn the pile. So I was helping people learn as they were helping me, do some of the work to actually turn and maintain the compost pile. And then I decided to actually get a permaculture design certification in 2018, and fully executed a design here on the property using permaculture principles, a lot of perennial fruit tree guilds, things that once you plant them and they're established, you don't have to replant them, which is coming really handy right now. So yeah, basically that's it. My favorite part of it is being able to involve the community, having the edge effect of people come to my home and they bring me their food scraps. We chat at the compost bin. I get to know them. They get to learn a little bit about what I'm doing here, and the mission of the Blue House, which is to promote regenerative food and regenerative energy to other people in the community.
Amazing. Thank you, Jen, for that intro. We're going to show a few photos. This is the house, the Blue House Regenerative Living Project, shot from the back. And yeah, I love the wilderness of it. But having seen it in video you shared with me, it seems very productive also. And this is the compost pile. Do you want to just explain to people your compost bin setup there, actually, because it is quite distinctive?
Yeah. So this is a very simple system to set up. I'm not a carpenter by any means. So what this is I just went to a hardware store. I got hardware cloth. It's 3 feet wide. So you unroll the hardware cloth and you just make a very large cylinder and fill the bottom with high carbon material. Like we're able to get free mulch from the city of St. Petersburg. And so I just have it delivered and I put it out for my soil supporters, and they'll come bring their food scraps. And I instruct them to cover their food scraps with an equal amount of volume of carbon to kind of keep that carbon nitrogen balance for me. So it's a very, very easy system for me for the most part. It's set up so where people just kind of maintain that balance between carbon and nitrogen for me. And then when it gets full, I just need to turn it, add water to the parts that are dry. So this is a system that for anyone that can, get some hardware cloth and a pitchfork or a shovel, you can start composting.
Great. And I'm curious, Jen, how did you get so many soil supporters? I think you've got like 23 listed on the MakeSoil site, on your soil site, and perhaps more. How did that happen?
Honestly, I think part of it is I've had signage from the very beginning on my fence. And so I think because I have signage there, people walk by, they see what I'm up to, they see how they can participate, and they log on to MakeSoil, they join the soil site as a soil supporter. I'm able to communicate with them periodically as things change or if I need to adapt. I think having that visibility helps with getting the neighborhood involved, but also I'm pretty visible in the community in terms of what I'm doing with sustainable urban ag.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So in fact, we're going to show your soil site so people can see what you're talking about there. So
I think I have 24 supporters, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it's close. So St. Petersburg, Florida. One of my favorite places to search on the MakeSoil map because it's
Is it really? Yeah.
green icons. Yeah, and I think Jen, you definitely have a role to play in that, given the promotion you've been doing there and the activation you've been doing there. But yeah, a bunch of icons there. It's perhaps the place with the most soil sites in terms of density on Earth right now, actually, which is really cool. And we see all the organic kind of bumping into each other that happens as a result of that. So you are here, Blue House, and yeah, you can see soil site there, 23, so 24 including yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an impressive number. And so how do you get your soil supporters engaged and participating or even learning through their experience with you, Jen?
So like I was saying, like oftentimes I can hear when people open the fence. So oftentimes I'll just pop out and see who's visiting the compost pile and I'll say, hey, we'll strike up a conversation. I've offered to people, said, hey, I'm going to be turning the compost pile. Do you want to come over and hang out? We can do it together. I can teach you about this. Some people have started their own compost bins as a result of participating. They see how easy it is to compost, and I'm just willing to, to help anyone learn how to do it themselves. And then also I send messages through the MakeSoil platform and let people know, it's like, hey, I've got some surplus pumpkins. I've got, some herbs, come by. I put some lawn signs out for the St. Pete Together mutual aid project. Just like sharing what I've got. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a brilliant thing as well. We wanted to highlight. This is just a photo of the garden, some of the stuff that's growing there. And yeah, I think an amazing thing about what you're doing, Jen, is that you're getting people's food scraps. You're involving them in participating in the process of it turning into soil, which you are leading. You're then using that soil to grow food, and then you're sharing that food with your soil supporters. It's such an ideal example of what MakeSoil is trying to encourage and proliferate. So it's yeah, truly amazing that you're kind of closing the loop for people like that.
Yeah, it's super fun. I love getting to know people. I love sharing ideas, and we learn from each other. It's the model that we used, in San Francisco and here is whatever I'm learning, I'll just include others. I just really just need to be a couple steps ahead in order to teach the basics of anything. And so together, we learn hands-on, I think, as a community. It's like once you participate, you've got someone kind of guiding the process, whether it's, setting up a fruit tree guild or planting some bananas or, some kale or a new garden bed. People can see it. They're doing it with their hands, and they can say, okay, I can do this in my home. And several people have started gardens that way. And, right now during the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of people wanting to start gardens. And I've heard from people, friends of mine, like, oh, I really wish I would have, started this a couple of years ago when you started. And there's still time. There's still, we have plenty of time. There are plenty of resources that are unfortunately being, sent to the waste stream we can capture. And this is an excellent platform to do that.
Yeah, and you've been keeping going, right, with your soil site,
Correct.
even during the COVID crisis.
Yeah, I've taken, community health is something I take really seriously. I always have. It's part of my advocacy. So when I heard about COVID-19, the pandemic, and kind of, what communities are doing to slow the spread and flatten the curve, I said, what is my role as a soil maker, as someone that has a community composting bin? We all touch the pitchfork. You have to come through the gate. Maybe there's somebody else going to be there. So the U.S. Composting Council had a couple of webinars that I attended. And basically my takeaway from that was folks can, use their own garden gloves to handle the pitchfork if they want. They also don't have to touch the pitchfork. They can just leave their food scraps there and I'll take care of it. Or I set up a hand washing station, actually, just had a spigot. I just, took a rope and tied my hose to the end of the porch and put some Bronner's soap there and some paper towels and instructions, and, wash your hands, take the paper towel, turn off the spigot, compost the paper towel, leave, close the gate with your foot. You're good. You can still compost. And I'm expanding my garden too. Like the back of the garden, it's the food forest. I expanded it. It's I have lots of time. Why not just go wall to wall with the garden? Or fence to fence, rather.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, my wife's been doing the same, using this time to grow. I think a lot of people have, even people that wouldn't necessarily have thought of it before. But thank you so much, Jen, for doing what you're doing and sharing what you're doing with us as well. Before I wrap up, would you like to let people know how they can find you and connect with you and engage with you as a person, as a business as well?
Sure, yeah. So I have a Facebook page for my project. It's Blue House Regenerative Living Project on Facebook. And I'll also be putting up a website. I'll have a Patreon account. So people can choose to support my project that way and receive different types of perks that way. And yeah, my phone number is on my Facebook page too. If you can message me through there, you can give me a call or shoot me a text. And
amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jen. And finally, could you do me one last favor and tell everyone who this is?
Oh, that's Vixen. That's my new foster puppy. So I'll be raising her until she's a little bit older, and she's going to join this nonprofit training program where they train beagles to do early detection for cancer. So it's a project that's near and dear to my heart, and it sounds like also they're looking into the efficacy of training them to detect COVID-19 also in public spaces. So that's really promising. And she's really sweet and loves to take naps with me in the hammock. So
lovely. Thank you, Vixen, for joining us too. And yeah, just to let anyone know who's watching, please do like Jen, check out MakeSoil, participate. Share this video post if it resonates on your personal Facebook page and any groups you belong to. And do go to MakeSoil and find a soil site near you, or if you can't, start one. And if you are able to volunteer, get in touch with us. We're now a global volunteer movement, from developers, designers, local activators and outreach coordinators, you name it. There are people getting on board every week now with the MakeSoil movement. And if you're able to donate, you can do so here as well. But thank you for watching, and thank you, Jen, again for joining us, and we will see you next time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for doing what you do.
Thanks, Jen. Bye.
Bye.